want to welcome everybody to the COVID-19 Recovery Visit Forum. This is the Business and Workforce Recovery session. You can join anyone that you want, but this is the one we want. I ask that you all mute your microphones until you talk so that we can hopefully not have any interruptions by accident of a dog barking or a kid running by. I know all of us have been on Zoom calls and in each other's basements and families, so the mute feature is very key there. Again, I'll be the facilitator. I'm gonna run through some questions that Paul had provided to us, but we can go off script. We can actually go into areas that we might not have charted the waters for, and I thank you all for being there. I think you're all familiar with the Council on Rural Development, neutral facilitator, contracted with the governor's office to be able to gather some information and hopefully feed it back so that we can deal with what we're dealing with in an effective way. He is at the end of this call. We want to join the full discussion. So in your email link, you want to go and you want to click on the one that goes back to the opening session, or the closing session, I should say, to be able to get back to the full meeting and hear the feedback from all the people that have participated. On the call with me today, I have a strategic recovery team with me. I have Alex Beck and R.T. Brown from Brattleboro Development Credit Corp, and Jude Smith Rochelle, who's from Sunbelt, is it, Jude? I'm sorry if I didn't get that correct.
It's okay. It's abundant sun.
Abundant sun. I love it. I love it. I knew there was sun in there, so I love it. Again, John Hughes, USDA Rural Development. I was a business owner with my wife on downtown Main Street, Brattleboro, for 15 years, so I'm familiar with business and its unpredictability, and this just adds more unpredictability to it. And then I'm also a community economic development manager at Rural Development. So the first part of the session is we're going to give about 20 minutes to our recovery team participants to sort of share some observations, maybe share some creative practices they've observed, and I'll let them do their introductions. So Jude, you're right in front of me, so I'm going to let you start.
Thank you so much, John, and good evening, everybody. It's lovely to see you, some familiar faces, and it's always really nice to see new faces in this COVID world in which we're living. So I'm Jude Smith Rochelle, and I've been part of the Economic Mitigation Recovery Task Force under the leadership of Paul, and it's just been really lovely working with some amazing people both in business and civil society, responding to where we are with COVID. I think it's been an extraordinary time, and John, I think I'll just sort of riff off of the conversation we had last night when we were really talking about the importance of having the capability to respond to all this uncertainty that we're living in right now, and how we use this as an opportunity not to just sort of lose the plot and freak out, but to become much more resilient with our businesses and find ways to be just, I'm of the impression that we're creating our way out of this. And I've just been really enthused to see how we've been able to band together as communities to really find fresh ideas and to pool our resources. So that's just been fantastic just to see the recovery to COVID. I've been very much involved as well, as we've got COVID running in tandem with all of the racial issues that sort of exploded in, what was it, May? We're in July now. Don't know what month it is or day or hour. But been very much involved in the conversation around ethics and leadership and governance inside of Vermont, and how we actually make sure that we're strengthening our organizational cultures so that people are healthy inside and outside of work. So that's just been really, it's been very encouraging, because I think that what we're seeing, and I think everybody on the call can be really, really proud about this, that number one, we're doing so well as a state nationally in terms of COVID response, and keeping ourselves healthy and respecting one another as community members. And at the same time, I think that we're beginning to find a way to lead the charge with respect to, you know, how we are as a community and our our sense of democracy as a state and our real willingness to work together to make it a better place, just not for ourselves, but also welcoming. We've got big challenges around people coming into the state, and there are discussions about, I think we all know this in terms of having our aging populations, and how do we really capitalize on our changing demographics as well, COVID or no COVID, to really make sure that our businesses are doing the very best that they can do for as many people as they can do it. So I won't say much more than that. It's probably enough. I did want to say that one of the reasons why I'm on this call is I was a resident in Bennington County for my first 4 years of living in Vermont, and I was part of the region, and I am still part of the regional economic development group down there in Seved. So I've worked really closely with the partnership between Bennington County and Windham County and folks on either side of the green. So it's a pleasure to see you old neighbors here this evening.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate you being on the team and offering your observations, your expertise. Next up, let's hear from Alex Beck.
Great. Yeah, thanks so much for having me. So when VCRD reached out if I could talk about business and workforce development, I responded, I can only talk about workforce development, and that's why I brought in RT. So he'll talk about business recovery. But, uncertainty was something certainly that resonated of, what Jude just said. We don't know what's happening federally with expanded unemployment benefits, which we know is such an important lifeline. We don't know a lot of the factors that are changing quickly around the labor market. But my spark is the things that we do know, which is the partners we have in Windham County. And the spark that I have is that we are in the process of a slow rollout for a virtual career expo. So an event that a lot of folks here have worked on every year at the River Garden, regional event for the whole county. We of course can't convene together and explore job opportunities in person anymore. And so COVID has both taken away that opportunity to meet together, but also put a lot of pressure on folks finding work. And so we're exploring how do you do that virtually, as each community is doing their own version of a career expo online. And so fewer employers have signed up, but the ones who have, and what I've heard in a lot of talk with the employer community is many of them are prioritizing safety over compliance, which compliance is bare minimum and safety is what keeps your folks happy and healthy and continually employed. We've seen what happens when you open up and just barely comply and don't take that culture of safety seriously. So that's been something that's really impressed me, and I think it bodes well that even in uncertainty, we're still taking care of each other in a lot of ways. So that's what I'm holding on to, and I will put the link to our Career Expo website in the chat towards the end when we're done talking.
Thank you so much, Alex. I really appreciate you participating. And before I introduce RT, I would like to let you all know that I have Nick Kramer, who's the IT guru at VCRD, on our session here. So he's going to assist me with timing and any other features that we might need technological assistance with. So I didn't introduce him in the beginning, but wanted to make sure I didn't leave him out. RT, over to you.
Great. Okay. It's great to see familiar faces. I've switched my screen over to some notes. I think I'm just going to take a few moments to talk about some of the activities the BDCC has engaged in over the last few months in response, and then just share some thoughts moving forward. So on March 21st, we stood up a page on our website and called it the BDCC Business Resiliency Program. And that was just a very nuts and bolts way to start communicating with our constituents in the Windham region about what are the different resources and what information we might have at the time, as things were sort of rapidly changing. One of the first things we put out there was I called it the business resiliency worksheet, and it was just a very simple cash flow projection so that folks could really sort of doing a quick assessment of where they are now, and if they had any reserves, how much longer they could go on, and then if they started to navigate the different relief programs, what should they be asking for or looking for. The BDCC, we took existing staff members, and Alex was one of those, and pivoted roles to become what we call business liaisons, BDCC liaisons, to help one-on-one, hands-on outreach efforts to help businesses with this navigation of different relief programs. And then we stood up a series of webinars that started on March 20th. And I'll just go through some of these. Are just my titles, but March 20th was because we were just trying to get our bearings, really. And then the 27th, the CARES Act was passed. So that was more informational. We would have the legislators, federal and state legislative updates, and it was a way to get information out there. The next week, we had some information about how to start accessing those programs, and then we would get the next week a little more technical. And then it was interesting. I decided to do some pivots and ask some business owners in the region, what was their thinking around, how they were going about asking for relief, and what are the next week we talked about sort of what were some of the pivots that they were considering. So we've then sort of oscillated, or sort of gone back to really just providing information. So it's been interesting from me, from a programmatic perspective, to see how we've tried to change based on what businesses need. So again, I just want to emphasize that the work has been really about direct support and technical assistance to access programs like PPP, EIDL. We have a USDA funded micro entrepreneurial loan program that has helped some folks. There's a state revolving, there's now the state, the grant programs. And just on Monday, we helped to roll out, it's really a state program. We just helped to administer it, a sole proprietor stabilization program. So, it's still important work. Just this week, I had a client text me and said they got their EIDL advance. Also earlier this week, I found myself explaining to a small business owner what the covered period meant for the PPP program. So, the work is still ongoing, and there's still a need for just real sort of hands-on technical help. Sort of thinking about things looking forward, it's really funny. I sort of oscillate between hope and deep concern as we hear about other parts of the country really having a surge. Businesses that have had forced reduction in revenue with already thin margins. Some businesses are doing okay, and some are doing better than ever. Some have options to pivot, and some really don't have options to pivot, like, a bed and breakfast. How can they start really selling an online experience? So much talk has been around building online experiences. So we're going to continue providing technical assistance as we've done since mid-March. We're going to continue telling folks about new programs and emerging programs that might help. We've started to talk about doing a forum similar to this one with aging business owners and connecting them with the young professionals in the region, or maybe young professionals that are thinking about coming to the region. So an aging business owner that's looking to maybe sell their business or transition their business. So in many ways, the work is the same. There's opportunities, there's threats. Someone may have strengths and weaknesses. You may need capital. You may need a business plan. I think we can help. I think we can serve. I think we can do better at underserved constituents. And I think we can work toward building a more resilient, diverse economy. So I'm going to get a little provocative because I think that's the point of some of these discussions. I think I would challenge folks to ask some really basic questions like, it's going to sound silly, but like, what is a restaurant and what is the experience of dining out? What is a bed and breakfast? Do we need retail as we know it? So that, yeah, I know I'm being provocative there. It's not necessarily my position.
Or instigating, I think.
What's that?
Instigating.
Yeah.
Discussion.
I'm almost finished. What does a weekend in Vermont for someone look like? Is the intersection of commerce and downtowns now something different? Can technology enabling hand-free transactions, biotech light sanitation, or material science developments for clothing and face masks solve all of our problems? I don't know. But this I do know. My son got engaged this past weekend, and tonight I'll be slipping some day-old baby chicks under a broody hen with the hope that she will think they are her own and start to care for them. So with that, I will conclude and say I look forward to the discussion.
Thank you, RT. Thank you, Alex, and thank you, Jude. Just so you're aware, now the time for the participants to share and for the recovery team to listen. We're going to do some listening, and at the end they'll have a time to reflect. So I know it's not easy to hold back sometimes, but write down those reflections, if you will. The feature that we have is if you scroll over the screen, the participant list, you bring it up. There is I think a raise hand feature that you can put there. I'm gonna need the help of probably Nick to make sure we don't miss anybody. We're gonna try to get to everybody within the time frame. And with that, so thanks for keeping that up, RT. I think the word that resonated with me that you had was options. And so the first question to start the discussion is on that theme is what do we want for this community, this region, regarding business and workforce development? And there is a hand raised right now, and that is
like Ruben.
Ruben, you're up. Let me unmute you, and there you go. I believe I unmuted you. No,
I think I'm good now.
there we go. Thank you.
I want to introduce myself. I'm Ruben, and I work at the United Way as the Director of Development and Community Impact. And I was on the steering committee that the visitors came and asked us about what we should be talking about today. I'm not exactly certain why nonprofits is put in the arts and culture and not in the business, because just like everybody here, nonprofits are in the business of making profits so that we can continue working. Just like everybody here, nonprofits applied for PPP loans, just like other businesses. We provide services, and just like the BDCC. Hi, Evan. Sorry, somebody was talking over there. And just like the BDCC or anything else, the United Way of Windham County has provided funds through our COVID-19 response fund to nonprofits and to businesses. So we did about $36,000 worth of rental relief direct to landlords on behalf of for-profit businesses. And so I think that the United Way and nonprofits should be talking right here in this discussion and not so much in the arts and culture discussion. So I'd like to offer myself as well to ask to answer any questions that the steering committee at the CCRRC we've been pounding out questions and finding out what recovery looks like. And so that's just what I wanted to offer today.
Thank you, Ruben. I think your comments resonate with me that it's about community, and community includes all sectors, right? And business, even though this is a business forum, the not-for-profit sector is really integrated into that relationship there. So thank you so much there. The next one up, let's see, we have 2 hands raised here. Let's go with Cindy Delgado first.
Thank you, John. And I love the conversation that you guys all started. And really, RT, yours resonated with me deeply because your timeline kind of described our timeline with the Department of Labor. For those folks who don't know me, I'm the regional manager with the Department of Labor in Brattleboro and Springfield. And while the BDCC was trying to keep the lid on for Windham County and keep workforce development and business operations going, the Department of Labor was trying to manage between a 6,000 and an 8,000% increase in unemployment claims. So my entire workforce development division in Brattleboro was pivoted to, in 1 week's time, actually 2 weeks' time, do telework and unemployment. So it's not a place that we are used to being. We're used to direct service to businesses. We're direct service to job seekers. That's what we do, people and jobs and jobs and people. And I am so grateful for all the efforts that BDCC and all the other community partners did to keep everything going, like putting together the virtual job fairs. Windham County has always been a leader in the state, and I'm not too bold to say that, of leading the charge for the entire state on innovative practices to bring job seekers to employers in need. And now more than ever is our innovation has to be at the forefront. The Department of Labor and our offices have pivoted all our services to virtual. So we are open, we're just not physically open, but you wouldn't know that. So you can call our office and get a friendly voice. You'll get that same friendly voice in Brattleboro. Dean will answer the phone and help you. You can get resume services, you can get connected to job opportunities. After watching a couple of really good virtual job fairs and talking with Alex, the state took a look at what some of the stuff was going on down here in Southern Vermont and has recently stood up a program statewide that's called #hiring2day VT, which will be virtual job fairs that will be every Thursday at 11 o'clock. And that information, I can put the hashtag in the chat. Those will be statewide. And what's really cool about that is, while we're Windham County focused, job seekers can be from anywhere. And we can attract job seekers from out of state, in-state, local. I just think that this virtual environment opens up the stage for a lot of meaningful and connecting to folks in a way that maybe otherwise have been left out. We can reach people in areas where transportation might have been a difficult time to get to a job fair in Brattleboro or Springfield. We can reach job seekers who are interested in coming to our county. I'm equally as nervous about the trajectory of what's going to happen with COVID. Nobody knows, so that leaves a really big gray area. But I'm also hopeful that if anybody is going to help our county pull out of this and be able to be nimble and pivot where the needs are, is the group that's here before me and the group that's on all these other calls. The folks in Windham County have the biggest heart in the state, and I'm grateful to be a part of this group. So please feel free to contact me if you guys have any questions about the services for the Department of Labor, and we're here to serve you. So thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. You know, I think it's very, very amazing the community of Vermont that we have, and the positivity and the resources that we have. You know, we started out this conversation about what do we need in this community, and no one jumped on that. They just came and said, "Hey, I'm here to help. We have resources." Jude, you had your hand up next. I want to go to you, and you know, continue on that theme. Promising practices, strategies. Things that we're doing that you know, we can replicate around the state. We're very nimble. So let me, Jude, you're unmuted.
Thank you. And I just wanted to, and thank you very much for that, Cindy, from the Department of Labor point of view. And I appreciate how challenging it is to have to pivot to something that's as unpredictable as we are right now, to change patterns. And I also wanted to build on what Ruben was saying, just in terms of language. And I think it's really, really important for Vermont. I mean, on the one hand, you know, we've been part of this economic recovery, and it's been really clear that we need to do better than recover to the place that we were before COVID happened. That's not good enough, right? So, and Windham County has been great. I mean, like I said, I was in Bennington. The difference between Windham County and Bennington County is like, oh, geez, it's miles away, right? I mean, literally and figuratively miles away. But even that said, I think all across Vermont, we have the challenge of getting better than we were before it all started. But I think we've been seeing some really, really good signs. I'm particularly heartened to see that we now realize that childcare is a major, major gap and major, major issue in our state. I came into Vermont 5 years ago, and I was absolutely stunned and shocked at how little organizations had the right kinds of work-life balance policies for their staff. And I was stunned to hear how a woman with a master's degree, because she had kids, couldn't get a part-time job paying her what she was entitled to get because of her skills, and had to work as a cashier in Shaw's. I mean, that's pre-COVID. That's outrageous. So we weren't doing well, and we shouldn't be proud of that. But I do believe that COVID has forced our hand so that we see where the gaps are with regards to some of these wider issues. So these are good things that are coming forth, and I'm hopeful and heartened as well to see that many of our organizations, whether they're large or small, are really taking this time to be a little bit more introspective, to see if their systems and their policies really can support people. And it's also been great to see how people have bandied together to, you know, how do we have a return to work policy? Do we need to go back to work? I mean, there are just all these questions that have arisen. I know, and it's just fantastic because, yes, we're in a state of chaos, but I think we're getting through it in a tremendous way. So the last thing I'm going to say, and I wanted to pull on what Ruben was saying about language, and being a person in business myself, and I love business. That's what I've studied, and when I see the language, and thank you so much, Ruben, for mentioning it, it makes my head go hot when I see business and not-for-profits. Because the number of not-for-profits that we work with, you know, everything's a business. Everything's a business. And why Vermont separate, and it's probably not just Vermont, but I just want to say psychologically, we cannot continue to separate that out. We have to begin to see that every organization is a business, and it has financial responsibility, social responsibility, environmental responsibility. It is business. So I think if all of us on the call, even the Department of Labor is business, you know, let's get down to business and let's do this thing properly so that we can turn it around where we need to turn it around.
Thank you, Judah. I know when I was a small business development center counselor, you know, people would talk about not-for-profits and for-profits, and I said, you still have to make a profit as a not-for-profit. It's just how you file your taxes, how you drive your revenues back. So thank you for that. You made a point which makes me, ask the question to you all. Is there a new work model that we need to look at? We're all hearing about the businesses that are doing very well because of all the demand. And then when we hear about the businesses that may not reopen, may not be able to take back their employees. Is there a new business model? Are there efforts underway that maybe these two paradigms come together and there's a transfer of workforce to keep people employed? I put that question out there. And let's see, we have Pat. I'm going to unmute you first, or maybe Nick has already done it for me. Go ahead, Pat.
Hello. Yeah. Both Lisa and I own bookstores. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Both Lisa and I own bookstores, and we were able to have online orders right away. In my case, we were open the whole time, just behind the scenes doing orders. But we'll never make up for the amount of money that we didn't make in March, April, and May, and June. And we're coming up to fall, which is our busiest season. And if we can't have more than 10 people for safety reasons in the stores, we can't do our events that bring in traffic. And it's a real problem because normally, like our Archer Mayor event, I'm sure Lisa has the same thing, there's probably 60 or 70 people in the bookstore at one time. I can't do that. And that's my major fundraiser, is doing things like that. So we have to figure out some other way of bringing in our clientele and be able to have retailers who normally would have a lot of traffic in November and December, much less all the restaurants that are closed and no movie theaters and everything else that's going on.
Yeah, Pat, you're making me think, that the not-for-profit, for-profit sector and how their nexus is of how could they work together to provide a venue that gives enough space potentially. I mean, we do have, facilities in town that might not be at your site, but other sites that we can try to at least, the gatherings, right? The gatherings are the major problems, and how can we effectively do that? So absolutely, many businesses are going to experience that. Thank you. Let's unmute Eli.
Am I here?
I can hear you.
Great. I co-run Shapeshifters. We make clothes. We're manufacturing in the cotton mill. We have one studio space with industrial machinery, so people have to be working on site in order to be making the thing. What our solution right now is completely staggered shifts. There is no more than one person in the warehouse, in the studio at any given time. And this has changed everything in terms of how well we can work together, how we're communicating when we're not in the same room. The thing that would support us at this time is really sort of a town level. How do we reconfigure so that more people can work at night? More people can work on weekends, more people can work off hours, because there's no such thing anymore for us, and I imagine for many people, as the 9 to 5. We are all setting our hours based on what we can fit around each other so that no one shares space.
Excellent point. Yeah, no, absolutely. The alternative creativity that we think about, how do you keep your production running with the factors that are on us. There's one predictable thing that we can all count on, is if we don't have these practices, we will have other issues like the rest of the country's having it. In Vermont, God bless them all, is doing a phenomenal job at staying vigilant on practicing the CDC guidelines.
I just want to add also, I have an employee who comes in when their kid sleeps. Like, that is the time that they can show up. And I'm so grateful to them for figuring this out and being like, yes, I can show up at these specific moments.
Excellent.
That's what I'm supposed to sleep. The kids are sleeping. Sorry.
I just know that, we have a similar situation with even the United States Department of Agriculture, where our staff are working at home and they have children. And we've been flexible enough to say, hey, if you need to work between 6 and 9 at night and take from 9 to noon to take care of your family, we want to be accommodating for that. So, you're excellent comments. Thank you so much. Let's see, who's up next? Michelle. We mute Michelle, Nick? Go ahead, Michelle.
There I am. Hello. I see some of you who I do know. I'm with the Vermont Employee Ownership Center, and a different perspective on a new way to do business is to bring the employees in as owners and have everybody sharing in a different way than with a one owner and a bunch of employees. And owners can exit that way if they're weary and ready to move on, or they can bring in their employees, or they can join a couple of businesses together to get the critical mass of employees that they need to be more sustainable and resilient for the long haul. So I plant that seed with all of you because you all interface with a lot of different business owners. And I think there are myths around employee ownership that we certainly can help dispel. RT knows a lot about us, so he can guide you.
Thank you, Michelle. Absolutely, and employee ownership, job sharing. I mean, there's things that we've practiced that, with the technology that we've experienced that we can use now, and the flexibility that we've been forced to actually undergo. Very interesting opportunities today to be able to revisit some of those best practices that we had. Ruben, you raised your hand. Can we unmute Ruben? Go ahead, Ruben.
So those are very intriguing ideas, Michelle. Thank you for putting that in my brain. Employee ownership is great. But what I was raising my hand was more along the lines to make comments for Eli. Even though, I know you're in production, we know each other personally, and you've shifted into making masks as opposed to binders to keep your business going. I think one of the things that, I'm sorry, Pam Green?
Someone
connected to a shared meal during that.
I believe your TV is on or something? Okay. Sorry. Well, one of the things that I think that when people that are not in production or business that are not in production should be advocating for, broadband access, because that will increase the amount that an employee can do from away from the actual office. And so, more of our rural areas need that as well, as we have it here in Brattleboro.
Yeah, very interesting. I thought early on with the demand was created by everybody working remotely, that companies would scoop up the opportunity to run fiber or whatever everywhere because the take rate probably be high, right? Didn't happen. I just saw in the newspaper today they would come to Southern Vermont. I wonder if the private sector take note of their opportunity, which hopefully would bring us better service. I'm not advocating for large conglomerates to come into and take over our small companies. However, interesting activities going on in our region.
Hey, John, I'm sorry to jump in here, but I'm seeing in the chat, and it's at least on my computer coming through, your audio is kind of cutting in and out. So you may want to just lean a little bit closer to the microphone or turn up the mic sensitivity if you know how to do that.
Thank you. Sorry about that. I get excited. I move away from my speaker. My
No problem.
Zoom skills are failing me over and over. Like to hear from some other people up maybe in the northern part of the county. Gary Fox, I know you were on the list. Is he on our list? He's observing the area. Did he make it tonight?
Gary is there. He's down. He might be on a phone.
Oh,
there he is. Let's unmute Gary, and just I hate to put you on the spot, Gary, but our county is very large, but then it's very small, and you're up the road a few miles there, and I'd be curious of what you're observing for best practices, challenges, and opportunities.
Yeah, hi, John. So I'm trying to take advantage of some of the, so we in the town of Rockingham and our downtown in Bellows Falls, manage
Sorry, Gary, you're cutting out as well.
trying to take advantage, I'm trying to take advantage of some of the accommodations that the state has made through the VTrans and ACCD guidance. For instance, for restaurants, we have a small downtown, and the restaurants have, for the most part, really tiny dining rooms. So being able to use the right-of-ways for...
Sorry, Gary, your connection's...
Put in interim zoning bylaws of it. Hello?
You're coming in and out, Gary. I'm sorry.
Is this better?
Yes.
Okay, so very small dining rooms, trying to take advantage of the using the outdoor right of ways, and the obstacles that we have are some of the costs of getting into that. For instance, using some parking spaces in the downtown and blocking off traffic, just getting Jersey barriers so that it was safe, putting tables in the roadway, I think was $5,000. And so we've been trying to work around some of those issues, and then the next thing that we run into is just the number of people coming out. So the foot traffic from the amount of residents that we have is light, and without having the travel traffic, that impacts us a lot. Another example are nonprofits like the Chamber of Commerce. Being able to open for them depends upon being able to have events. So last year at this time, the Flannel Festival generated over $5,000, which allows them to operate for a couple of months. But there was, hundreds and hundreds of people that came by. It might have been 1,000. So all of the traffic running up Route 103 diverts off and goes to this festival. And so that the chamber board was looking at a way that they could have the event without having a festival, maybe limit it to 150 people, sell tickets for it, and it's in a large enough farm where there could be that social distancing. But then right when the board was meeting on it was a day after the Manchester Londonderry news came. When it appeared, there were something like 50 positives. So that scared the board from trying to attract people to have any kind of event. Things that we do, like our national landmark, the Meeting House, is generally open from Memorial Day to Columbus Day. That brings a lot of people through town, and the Historical Preservation Commission was rightfully so. They were scared to open it. Just the amount of travelers that are attracted from a distance. So I guess those are some of the challenges that we have. Is even with the accommodations, the business really depends on bringing in people from outside of state. And even though there's that, the map is a great thing. Everyone checks that map every Friday, is updated in ACCD. We see where it's safe to travel from, but we get reports from the local businesses that, we say that people can't come here from this red zone, but I had someone in my store today that says, "Oh yeah, I'm from from Manhattan, and we just we drove up for the day," or whatever it is. So, looking at the surges that are happening across the South, in the Harvard maps, all of the country that is turning those the scary colors, is just really making people nervous about trying to attract people to events, trying to have the type of foot traffic that we need for the businesses to succeed.
Thank you, Gary. No, absolutely. I think, as a southern part of the state, we see a lot more travelers from afar. I think we're seeing a greater resurgence of Vermonters that have second homes up here that come from afar and come. And I'd be curious to know, I know in the initial part it was a cultural challenge for us to accept people that had a different license plate, never mind maybe a different culture. And I seem to smooth out a little bit. I'd be curious to know what people might be working from home in Vermont that we could work on trying to keep them, maybe have them employ people in business. And I don't know if anybody has any examples of businesses that are portable and that people had a second home, but now might be their program. Comments? Sharon. Can we mute Sharon? There we go.
So I just wanted to say a few things because Londonderry is kind of in the same corner as Gary and Bellows Falls. We're in the very northwest end of the region, and
beautiful place.
We're very very popular these days too, I might add. So we don't have a lot of businesses, so they're all they're more critical to our small community if we want to talk about and think about resilience and being able to help ourselves and serve ourselves and our community in such a time as we have right now. We have seen our local businesses, which we are a service town in the middle of bedroom towns for the ski areas and resorts, and we provide essential things like groceries and banking and pharmacy and a few restaurants, and everyone rallied quite well to find a way to stay safe and stay open in the beginning, and got into that routine. And then, as Gary mentioned, the spike happened between Londonderry and Manchester, and everyone sort of businesses pulled back again, reverted to some of their earlier techniques for staying open and serving the community. And, it was a reality check there. We were feeling good about how we were operating and that things were fairly calm, and it just sent us again into having to regroup without having had time to really make a longer term resilience plan, which I think is becoming apparent that that's really what we need to be working on, but it's really tough to do in the process of being in crisis at the same time. So we have a project called Project Londonderry that started a year ago, which was well before the pandemic. And that was to, in general, kind of take a look at our main street, which is basically Route 11 east and west and Route 100 north and south, and not very pretty, with some gas stations, service stations, a liquor store, a few other essential things, but some good bones and buildings worth saving, and trying to rally for that when all of this happened. And we had to regroup. There was no way we could look that far in the future without looking at what was happening before our eyes. So we have taken the step of just reaching out to businesses, kind of doing an inventory and a check-in about their issues and challenges, and finding out if, as a town, because we're acting as a planning commission to launch this effort, to find the stakeholders and see if we can connect people to help each other. And we're coming down now and into a stage of having picked 4 areas that we need to work on, and community members are coming forward to provide working group energy for the stakeholders to how to not just survive now, but look forward at new methodologies and to work together with community support. So I'll stop there and not take any more time.
Oh, you're fine. Thank you. Ruben, your hand's raised again, or is it still up?
Yep. Hi. So I am going to jump off this meeting, this breakout, to go into the nonprofit breakout and spread the word that we are actually businesses and they should be seeing themselves as businesses as well. So I wanted to say farewell, and I look forward to the report out in the main closing session, and just want to say that the United Way has resources, and we can connect people with resources through our 2-in-1 programs. Like I said, also we've been able to do direct rental dollars to landlords on behalf of for-profits, and so if that's an issue that you might be facing, you can send me an email and we'll try to help you figure it out. Okay, so it was a pleasure talking to everybody. Thank you.
Ruben, go get him. Tell him we sent you. thinking about our region, is there anyone from the western part of the county, or maybe over in the Wilmington, Dover area that's on the call that we could hear from yourself? I think I see Lisa raising her hand in the corner here, and I unmuted you. No, maybe I muted you.
Okay.
Now you're unmuted.
Okay, thanks. Hi, Lisa Sullivan. I own Bartleby's Books in Wilmington, and I'm very active with our downtown organization, Wilmington Works. I'm also serving on the action team. So what we're seeing here is a lot of second homeowners who are in the area, have some who've been in the area consistently since March, some who've been coming back and forth. We're also seeing people just coming in for the weekend, regardless of where they're coming from. So we're definitely making sure that we're, in our business, practicing all of the right protocols, because we're not quite sure where people are coming from. They may be coming from a place that's not a green county on the map. So July and August are really busy for Wilmington and Dover, and really important part of the business for the season. Fall is also very busy, but summer is really important. So one of the things that Wilmington Works did is partnered with the Chamber, the town of Wilmington and the town of Dover, and we've launched a Shop Local program. It's very similar to the program that we run typically in the downtown in December for holiday shopping. So it's a make a purchase, get a coupon, use it at the next business, no cost to the business to participate. And that launched about 5 days ago. And we're hoping to run that through the end of August or until the coupons run out. So far so good. We've added an online component. So there's a new app that customers can use to do it, so that it doesn't have to be physical. Because people are here, and we don't have our events this summer, right? We don't have the big things that pop. So we've got to get ways to get people moving in ways that are safe and spending money while they're here. And hopefully this will be successful. We've had some money that we were able to inject also into local media, which needs that injection right now as well, because there isn't a lot of money for advertising from most local businesses. Currently for our business, it's feeling okay, because we know that people are here and they're not very busy with all of the activities that they might be doing. So we're in a bookstore, and so they're coming and finding puzzles and books to read. The main takeaway that we're taking for our business is flexibility, and we are having to be flexible in our thinking from day to day, from week to week. And what we thought was going to be the case, in April turned out not to be the case in May, and changes as we go. So while we're feeling okay for July and August, we're not sure what fall is going to look like. December is our busiest month of the year with holiday shopping, and it could feel very different then. So the work that we're planning for our business is, how can we continue to have a relationship with second homeowners who may not be here in December? And how can we continue to serve them while they're at home? We're working on our website, we're working on our social media, we're working on the ways that we connect with our customers to keep the relationship going. So that's kind of where we are.
Thank you so much for sharing. Those are excellent examples of things that, again, we're all trying to pivot at a moment's notice, and it sounds like you all are on it. It reminds me of, like, you plant a garden in the spring and have plans for harvest, and you get a blight, and you have to pivot to what crops are growing, which ones aren't, how do you treat them, and things like that. So thank you for sharing. I saw Eric had his hand up. Does Eric still have his hand up? Okay.
Eric Rocher, Town of Dover. Previously,
Eric, you're very muted.
Okay, hang on 1 second.
Hello? Sorry, Eric,
Hey, can you guys hear me?
You are muffled. If you can get next to your speaker, that might help.
Oh, hang on.
Yeah, it's a little bit better, Eric. Maybe if you lean close to whatever device you're talking on. I can't affect it from here.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Go ahead for a second. We can hear you. You're quiet, though.
All right, come back to me. Let me fix my audio.
Okay, I see Amanda has her hand up.
Hi, I'm Amanda Whitman, and I live in Brattleboro, and I'm working with Stephanie Bonin with the Downtown Business Alliance. And I wanted to respond to something that Sharon was saying. We in Brattleboro, we're doing something pretty similar to what it sounds like you're doing in Londonderry, just checking in regularly and often and repeatedly with business owners, staying connected on a personal level, but also checking in to find out what do they need, what do they think might work, what are their suggestions, how can we help connect them with resources that would be helpful. And one of the things that, that we're finding is that it's really feels really essential to the concept of resilience to connect business owners with each other. So we're doing what we can if we have kind of a sense of which business owners have more experience in one area and someone else might have a question in that area, facilitating those interactions and hoping that they'll be self-sustaining, because it just really seems that ongoing resilience is going to depend on businesses supporting each other and sharing resources with each other. So I just wanted to add that to the conversation about resilience.
Thank you, Amanda. You know, I heard Stephanie talk at one point on a call that you know, some people that have a skill set of being a chef, but they need to be a webmaster now, and that's not their forte, and it's a real challenge and time-consuming way. But I think, you know, that connecting business owners to each other that have skill sets that they can share and support one another is really really resonating in these times. Let's go to Pat, and then after Pat, unless there's a burning question, I'd like to go back to the resource team so we can have some time for some reflection from them back to the group. So Pat?
Lisa, I noticed some of our online orders that we were getting during our shutdown period were from second homeowners who were still down wherever they lived in the first place. Because I saw a lot of people from outside that I didn't know who they were, people that were coming from Boston. I was sending orders to Boston and New York, and I think that they were second homeowners that were trying to support us while they were stuck in the house. So I think you'll find that, you know, the rapport that we build with them when they're here, they're trying to help us out, and they're also doing audios, and they're buying audios from us through Libro. But I'd be interested to find out a little bit more about your program, because I'm on the promotions committee of BIFTA, and the one that we do for Shop Local is very intensive of my time. And so if I could do something that's less intensive, I'd like to go with something. And I know that although we have retailers that are open, our problem right now is that our restaurants, we have very few restaurants open. And people are coming into town and I have nowhere to send them. Even if they're just from, you know, White River Junction or someplace. That's a real problem right now. I know Sky's nodding her head. It's like we have restaurants that are open on Friday and Saturday nights, and just, you know, it's hit or miss. So we need to help out our restaurants and get them open again.
Thank you so much, Pat. Eric, can we try you one more time? Let's unmute you and see if you are better.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Perfect.
Okay, sorry about that. Eric DeRocher, Town of Dover, previously of the Southern Vermont Deerfield Valley Chamber of Commerce in the beginning of COVID. I've been working really closely with Gretchen Haverluck, who is the Economic Development Specialist for the Town of Wilmington, and Meg Staloff, who is the Program Coordinator for Wilmington Works. You know, really trying to get some resources out to the businesses. We've held a number of Zoom calls to kind of cover a number of different topics as we try to come through this in terms of resiliency. You know, so there's been restaurant-specific calls and lodging-specific calls, calls for marketing, calls for online sales and things like that, and really positive response from our business owners on that. I think the biggest issue that we've come across, you know, especially in our area, there's such an eclectic mix, even though they're, oh, sorry, my coworker's with me. Even though there's such an, you know, there's such an eclectic mix of businesses and owners of those businesses, that no one sector has all of the same problems. You know, each business owner is kind of jumping over hurdles to themselves as they come along. So I think the biggest thing for us has just been trying to provide that roadmap, you know, for them as we try to come through this. You know, other than that, we have the Bytown marketing group is working on, you know, trying to get some dollars. We have some money from Wilmington and Dover to kind of promote marketing. But again, you know, I think to kind of echo, I forget who said it earlier, but it's really tough to market right now because we don't know exactly who we can market to and who we can get here right now. So I think those are some of the hurdles that we're kind of looking at in the Deerfield Valley.
Thank you so much. Sharon, your hand is up. I don't know if it's up again or it was up from before, but let's unmute you again.
It's still up from before, sorry.
That's fine. Thank you, everyone. You know, one question that it makes me think is, you know, we've encountered this situation and it presented a bunch of new problems for us. However, there were probably some things before this that may have been in existence that might need to be revisited. I know that I've seen over the years in Brattleboro different ordinances that have been changed to be able to enable different activities. And I don't know if there's anything on the books that needs to be revisited that might help with this for being outdoors and more. I know Brattleboro's done a great job with their Jersey barriers. Gary indicated those. I went out and bought dinner tonight at a restaurant on Elliott Street that painted their barriers, very colorful. It did attract me to them, but I don't think that's going to really make or break it for the businesses there. I saw that Kate's on from the Chamber in Brattleboro. Kate, I'd like to give you an opportunity if you had any observations or comments of resiliency, obstacles, and suggestions that we might be able to employ. You're unmuted, Kate.
Garbled and stuff.
Hello? Didn't mean to put you on the spot, Kate.
Kate, you're just coming through very faintly. I don't know if it's a microphone issue as well.
Well, let's come back to Kate.
Hello?
Oh, there she is, yay.
One thing I just thought when I was listening to Eric talk about the marketing that was going on over in Dover, you know, and their questions of what they were going to do. One of the things that Brattleboro is doing along with the Downtown Brattleboro Alliance is we had a Love Brattleboro marketing campaign that we had got funding for from the town of Brattleboro. And prior to COVID, it was for, we were marketing to out-of-state people, and we put it on hold, you know, obviously in March, and we've just started back up again in July, and we are marketing to in-state people, you know, for Vermonters from northern part of the state, figuring if we can get, you know, take a vacation in your home state. So we're going to see how that works. So far, you know, we've gotten positive feedback from it. So, you know, that's what we're trying to do things that we're trying to do down here, because it's as we all know, in Windham County, we're in a tough situation. But if we can get visitors to come from somewhere else in Vermont, it's our opportunity.
I love it. You know, buy local, shop local campaigns have been alive for a while, and to turn something that you've been looking outward on inward. Maybe there's a possibility we should do shop for Christmas now.
Yes.
Send all your Vermont products out, you know, buy them here and send them to your relatives, and maybe that'll be another opportunity there as well. Thank you. I see that Sky Peebles is raised their hand. Let's unmute that one. Sky?
Thanks, John. Hi, my name's Sky. I live up in Rockingham too. And I was just wondering if people could, or if anyone would have any thoughts about the idea of, I know people have changed the way that they do business, and a lot of like new services have emerged as a result of sort of this, these crisis moments. And then thinking about resiliency, I'm just wondering, are there any things that have changed that people are getting feedback from their clients or customers saying, we really like this and we want to see this continue no matter what happens? Because I wonder if there are things that are emerging in these sort of newer models that make these sort of small communities that we have, that sort of bring out that sort of really those shiny, wonderful person to person, or, your local shopkeeper aspect of things. I just was wondering if anyone had any experiences like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott, for that very good question. Let's see, Pat has her hand up again, and please, if there are anybody that the business owners or observed any businesses that have seen they're doing something that's really resonating with their customers and what they might share with the group. Let's see, I lost Pat.
Here.
I do. So there you are. We're going to unmute you here somehow. Nick, help.
All right.
There we go.
I started doing home delivery within 20 miles, and I've been going from Putney to Springfield, all the way over into Ackworth, Claremont, all the way around. And I've discovered a lot of older people or people with children in the house, and they've been very appreciative. And I think that that's something that we would continue to do. I've done it before for people that have a broken leg or something like that, and they've asked me, but it seems like there's a lot of people that want to have home delivery. And I think that's a good option that some of us retailers and the restaurants do it, like the pizza places do it. But it means me driving around sometimes on a Friday night for 2 hours, but I get 4 or 5 deliveries in, and it makes people happy.
Excellent example. Thank God for GPS, right?
It doesn't always work out on the dirt roads.
Sure, I'm
confused.
I live in one of those neighborhoods.
I knock on a lot of doors to find people, and everyone's very friendly.
Maybe we can hand them a coupon next time and say, sorry, please come visit us.
That's good. I can do that.
Eli, you had your hand up.
Yes, I have a similar story, and I can illustrate. I'm here in the studio. I'm on the 2nd floor. There's a pride flag flapping out the window, and when someone comes to pick up face masks, I put it in a basket, and I lower the basket down from the 2nd story down to the 1st. And we're calling them the Rapunzel pickups, and everyone loves them. And it is just such a delight that people can show up, not have to come inside the building. There are signs on the building doors saying you need a mask to get in. Well, I'm selling them the mask that they need. So they come outside and they park under the rainbow and they pick up an order of masks. And we're going to keep doing this no matter what, because it's fun for everyone involved, and it's easy, and it's so much easier than them trying to go inside the cotton mill, which is a bit of a maze of a building, to find us. No, they just come find the rainbow flag, and then they're there.
I love it. I love it. Absolutely excellent. Any last examples that anyone would like to share? Your enthusiasm, it is contagious. All of you and your efforts that you're doing out there, I got to tell you, it just infuses hope and resiliency in our area. I'm really, proud of Vermont. You think of the numbers we're posting for being vigilant. You think of the activities you guys are creating up in your resiliency. It's amazing. I get to see a lot of different communities across multiple states, and I got to say, there's no place like this region. So let's see, Cindy has just raised her hand.
I just want to, so from a service provider perspective, sometimes it's not always easy to switch to a virtual format when you're used to dealing with our job seekers and our clients face to face. But I have to tell you a quick story about the person who works with the young and youth looking for jobs. And she was really struggling to try to figure out how to keep everybody engaged, and knew it was critical to be able to keep those young adults engaged in the concept of work and workforce development. So she created career readiness bingos and career readiness Jeopardies, and did it by a Zoom call. And initially she said it was a little awkward, that the kiddos were a little shy about doing it, and some of them wouldn't talk. And we're all teleworking. So when we're teleworking, who do we have? Most often we have our pets with us. So her dog happened to just, did a cameo appearance during one of the virtual workshops. And it gives me goosebumps, because one of the students who was really had a barrier with being present and being really shy, just lit up when the dog was in the screen and was part of the workshop. So I know that this is not a business to customer service, so to say, but even in the service sector and the nonprofit sector, we're all trying to figure out different ways to reach our customers. And sometimes the unintended consequences of having our natural supports, like our dogs or our kids or whatever it is we happen to have around us, works well. So there is hope for figuring out the resiliency plan in all of this. So thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Yeah, no, I think we've had more of an intimate relationship with each other through the video of seeing each other's homes, our pets, our children's, our families, and it's actually enduring to be able to have those experiences that you normally don't get with each other. Thank you all. I'd like to come back now around. We have a few minutes left before we want to jump back to the main meeting. And again, you have to get out of this meeting, click the link on the session meeting that we have, and possibly Nick can put that in the chat function for a moment so we have that.
I'll walk us all through that process when we get there.
Perfect, excellent. So, but I would like to come back around for the final part of this session to let the visiting team, which is local, provide some reflections to the group. And I started with Jude last time, and let's start with RT and work backwards. RT, some reflections, comments.
Oh, I wasn't expecting that. What's that?
So we're wrapping up the session, and this part of the segment is to provide some feedback.
Okay, great. Yeah, I really, really appreciate the engagement and the deep discussion. There's something that ever since I think it was Amanda mentioned it, I've just been sort of spinning on, which is I think she was recounting a discussion between her and Stephanie with the Downtown Brattleboro Alliance. And this has come up in our resiliency webinars. And so Amanda mentioning this just brought it to the forefront for me. But so this is what's top of mind for me. And that is connecting not just at a downtown level, but at a regional level, businesses, so that they can help each other. And what is a good way to do that? So we're all so zoomed out. A lot of us have been spending a lot of time in Zoom. So I don't have the answer, but I've toyed with technologies that are more immediate, things like Slack or even Discord, where it's more of a chat almost like an old school chat form where there's an immediacy to it. I am just wondering if there's a regional tool that we could deploy, so that businesses could sync up faster in a way that can be helpful, so that the restaurant owner who, spent their time in France training to be a chef, can really lean on somebody else that, has a little more experience building a website. So that just for me is what I'm really thinking about right now.
Thank you, Artie. Making me think of almost a fulfillment house concept for a website that multiple businesses could participate in to be able to hook up faster. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know.
A shared resource. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Let's go to Alex.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to circle around to what Ruben said, and that for people who did not think public health was part of the economy, they were wrong. For the people who didn't think childcare was business infrastructure or economic infrastructure, they were wrong too. And so I think COVID has brought light to what the economy is made of, which is real people who need to be healthy. Their kids need to be safe and cared for. And I think that I'll circle back to what Michelle said, which is what I've heard is that employee-owned companies have weathered crises better because they make decisions as a group. They, when faced with, do we lay off a lot of people or do we all take a pay cut? Employee ownership in general leads to more equitable decisions in times of crises. And I think we've seen it also makes them more resilient in the face of crises. And so again, the more human-centered and health-centered and education-centered we can be, the more resilient and better the economy is going to be. And I think everyone said that in their own way, whether it's driving to the middle of nowhere to deliver books. That's a very human interaction and a cultural interaction that just happens to be an economic interaction. So that's really what I heard, is that, that's where a lot of these different ideas have really come together for at least me. And lastly, I'll say how frequently everyone used the phrase checking in, because there was a long period of time where no one had any information or answers or resources. Who knew what the federal programs were? But we were all checking in with each other before, during, after, and we're still kind of following up. And it's that kind of checking in that will kind of keep the glue of our community together, even when we have no answers and limited resources and fewer solutions. So that's what I'm taking away from what I think I heard today.
Thank you so much, Alex. And last but not least, before we let Nick tell us how to navigate back to the main meeting, Jude.
Thanks, Max. Hi again, everyone. Yeah, and another word that has been used a lot in our conversation is that of hope. And that's good to hear, because this has been some seriously stressful timing for everything. And I think it's really hard. I think we forget that this has been 4 months and we still don't really see an end to it. And it's hard to even imagine that we're still living through this bizarre situation. It's a weird, endless dream. So I feel that the hope that we've all expressed and the spirit of collaboration within the community, back to the importance of checking in, back to the importance of connectivity, and making sure that that's reduced so that we're not living in isolation. Really, really important. And I think the final thing that really strikes me when we're talking about recovery, well, we haven't even gotten as far as it's going to get to recovery yet. So I don't know how we start recovering when we're still in the middle of something, but we can try. And I think we're doing well. The final point for me is really about, I've just lost my train of thought. It's going to come back to me. We were talking about hope and resilience, and that's it. That resilience isn't just about surviving and weathering this storm, right? That's not good enough. because we can't do, like we said, we have to get better than we were before it all started. And what we're really hearing, and I loved, Eli, your contribution, resilience is about thriving. How do we thrive in this? Not just survive it, but how do we thrive and have the right kind of positive outlook and bring our hope to the forefront, where we enable ourselves to have fun, you know, and do things out of the ordinary. I mean, we're always working with the art of the possible, and we are in the throes of the art of the possible. And how can we seize that so that we can really keep growing and strengthening, both inside of Vermont, but actually allowing people outside of us as well to benefit from who we are.
Thank you so much, everyone, for your participation, the visiting team, resources, and all of you. I mean, you know, it is amazing and heartwarming to have just this sample of people across our great communities come out and share. And this is what we do. This is what we need to do. So, you know, I thank you, and I was happy to be able to be part of this. So, Nick, I want to turn it over to you for some technological assistance in navigating us back to the main event.
Sure, Max. Yeah. And I just want to echo also, as the silent observer, scribing and teching in the background here. What an awesome conversation this has been part of. I'm just about ready to hop in the truck and zip down 91 and come visit. I mean, what an awesome conversation and an awesome group. I want to echo what I'm seeing in the chat, which is just to officially thank Max for stepping up to facilitate this. Not easy, given all the technological challenges and glitches, even with expert help. So yeah, thanks, Max, for doing this. So hopefully getting back should be as painless as it was getting here. I will post to the chat the instructions. There's sort of two ways to go about it. You can either click the link that's in your email, or you can do this, which is to copy the link that I just pasted, plug it into your browser, and that should take you right back to the opening session. So I'll stick around in this breakout in case anybody has any trouble, but hopefully we'll see you back in the main room, so to speak, in a second. And thank you guys all so much for your participation.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you, Nick. Everyone be well. I hope to see you on the streets. I'll put my ass down, say distancing, and say hi. So,
thanks, Max.
Thank you.
Thank you.